Paji, congratulations. It's a wonderful, it's like a poetry we've been flowing through. Very good part of your film. I'm a small filmmaker from Nagpur itself.
हाँ जी.
And my weakness of my films are the sound. Voice जो है, sound जो है, audio. Basically, visually I'm okay with. आपने इतना सारा outdoor shoot किया है. There are so many temples यहाँ बहुत बहुत सारे लोग outdoor में बातें कर रहे हैं. तो इतनी अच्छी clarity, how did you manage to get? This is my first question. And second is, आप ये film कहाँ release करेंगे? That's the second.
आपका नाम क्या है?
मेरा नाम आसिफ है.
आसिफ. आसिफ भाई ऐसा है
जी.
मैं कोई फिल्म मेकर नहीं हूँ.
ये सब
मैं कोई फिल्म मेकर नहीं हूँ.
नहीं बिकॉज ये फिल्म देखने का मुझे रियलाइज हुआ कि मुझे अभी कितनी दूर आगे बढ़ना है.
मैं आ रहा हूँ. मैं कोई ऑथर नहीं हूँ. 2 किताबें लिख दी है ना, तो अभी तो 5 साल से फिल्म बनाने बैठे हैं, राइट. वही बात पे आप जाइए ना कि इफ यू डू द थिंग्स राइट, the skills are there, your ability to comprehend, your ability to understand, your power to see through the things, then you are not making an effort to do anything. Then divine is giving it to you. यार हम लोग फिल्म बनाने गए, ये तो अभी आप बहुत सिंपल सी फिल्म देख रहे हैं. अगर आप गुरु नानक डॉक्यू सीरीज देखेंगे, we've gone, me and my wife have gone deep inside Afghanistan, deep inside Pakistan with drones and cameras in India where I don't have a live threat. If I want to fly, you're a filmmaker, a drone over Jagannath temple, you know what problems will happen, right? I, as a person who's devoted 10 years of my life, if I go to Golden Temple, Darbar Sahib and say I want to actually film, they will not allow me to do it. I've proven myself, they'll not allow me to still do it, right? You understand, as a filmmaker? So, मैं कौन होता हूँ करने वाला? इतने ऊपर से देन आ रही है. वो हम लोग स्टेल्थ मिशन में थे. जान की प्रॉब्लम थी, पैसे नहीं होते थे, पैराशूट खुलता था, नहीं होता था, कभी लगता था बगदाद में पैसे खत्म हो गए. We got into a flight, I went to US, I started pleading, raised some money, came back, I kept my team there. And what I'm trying to say, I don't know, seriously. We were just on a stealth mission. अब पता तो है कैमरा चलाना, फोटोग्राफी पता, मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ ना. I can tell my person, Salman Alam Khan from Pakistan went into all the Islamic countries with us. He's our son. We've adopted him, right? He's our son. We had an Indian guy, Deepak Verma, who went in India and Bangladesh. They were the experts. But I have the vision. I'm telling you, यार ऐसे चलाओ इसको, ऐसे करो. वो अपना भी कर रहे हैं. You have to give them the flexibility. But it's a team coming together to churn things without us as the directors overbearing on them, letting them do the work because the divine energy that's getting it done. So sorry, I don't want to get into technicalities. Understand the essence behind it. So if you become the Junoon will take care of it.
A VLF functions similar on lines to other established literary festivals across the country. This grand festival that brings together the fantastic minds of India is only possible because of our partners. Their unwavering belief in the work that VLF does ensures that initiatives like these keep happening for people like us in Nagpur. I would like to thank all our partners for their unconditional support. Without further ado, I would like to begin this session. This session is not about a book, but about a documentary. Ripudaman Singh will be moderating this session. He is a self-employed businessman and a much-respected quizmaster of our city. He is also a prolific reader and a podcast follower. A passionate hiker, Ripudaman loves exploring the outdoors. Thank you, Ripudaman, for taking time and coming to the session. We are delighted to welcome back Amardeep Singh, back to VLF for his second outing. He was last here in 2020, the first edition of VLF, and I was privileged to attend the session and spend some time with him. He's also a senior from my college, Manipal Institute, and a fantastic person to say the least. He's here today to screen his latest documentary, Oneness in Diversity, Elixir of Guru Nanak and the Indic Saints. This documentary is produced and directed by Vininder Kaur, Amardeep's wife, and Amardeep. It showcases the harmony of Guru Nanak and Indic saints of the Bhakti and Sufi movements. Amardeep is a Singapore-based researcher, writer, photographer, and documentary maker. He has worked in the financial services sector for 25 years till 2013, when, as head of the Asia-Pacific region at American Express, he decided to call it a day and started researching on the visual ethnography of Sikh history and legacy. I would like to say his pilgrimage across the subcontinent led to the publishing of his first book, Lost Heritage, The Sikh Legacy. This was in 2016. Following it up with The Quest Continues in 2017. Vininder and Amardeep have also made 2 other documentaries, Peering Soul and Peering Warrior. I now request Ripudaman to do the honors and start the show with Amardeep. Please welcome them all with a big hand of applause. It's a 1 hour, 10 minutes documentary. And after that, Amardeep and Ripudaman will take to the stage to talk about it, and we'll be taking questions later on. Thank you so much.
On this long weekend, I'm sure everyone's got goosebumps after watching that. Uh, Good afternoon, friends. First, I would like to thank Amardeep for what he has done through his documentaries, his books, and his docu-series. It's not just a service to our community, but to all those who have hopes for the idea of syncretic communities in this land. But before we move on to the current presentation, let's talk about Amardeep's journey and how he, coming from a Doon school, going to Chicago for an MBA, and going on a spiritual quest, doesn't go with a Doon guy who's supposed to be posh and godless. So, can you tell us about your journey? How did you get into this?
Poshness is a state of mind. Don't be misguided. Life's too short. It's long to do a lot of stuff, but it's too short also, right? I'm blessed to have got decent education. I'm blessed to have gone into the worldly, materialistic side. I am divinely blessed to be walking this path for the last 10 years, right? So very few, I'm not trying to be egoistic, but very few get this chance, right? So I'm experiencing the world from both the sides. I've led the American Express Asia Pacific region as revenue management expert from Singapore. That was a different life I was leaving. So your question is the transition, right?
Yeah, the quest. How does one go on
Yeah.
a quest of spiritual or
Yeah. So I would say for the youth that's sitting in this hall, there are some of the life lessons that I've got. And I will through that try and tell you how this transition happened. If you think one fine day you're going to get up and you'll say, let me walk a path that was not something that I was trained for, it's not going to happen. Keep aspiring. Life is too short, it's going to pass away. There are some things that you have to do. And unconsciously I was doing, right? First and foremost, I always say this is, in the school systems and colleges, we are told, follow your passion, janoon ko follow karo, right? Often we are told, right? I will tell you something different. Don't follow your passion. Recipe for disaster. You will not be able to achieve anything in life. Become the passion. There's a difference between following passion and becoming the passion. जब जनून बन जाओगे ना, तब जनून के पीछे नहीं जाना पड़ेगा. तब जनून आपके लिए चीज कुछ क्रिएट करेगा. So for many years, I was leading a life in passion. My passions have transformed every 4 to 5 years. Fine, I've got my worldly education, but I was living my other life on my personal side, delving into history, delving into philosophy, not my philosophy alone, from the faith that I come. To understand my faith, I have to understand the other faith also. How can you experience light if you don't experience darkness? You can't have light without the knowledge of what darkness is. So you have to, I'm not saying the other is darkness. I'm just saying you have to understand both the perspectives, right?
personal darkness?
Yeah, exactly. So I was delving into philosophies. Then there came a time when I delved into musicology. I still croak, I can't sing. But I know the rags. I have an understanding of them, right? Came a time I became an atheist. I don't deny that. I forgot the divinity. It's fine. It's fine to experience it. Because you have to understand that, right? And then one fine day, Kabir spoke to me. Khalak, khalak. Khalak mein khalik. Khalak, the creator is in the creation. Creation is the creator. What are you searching for? Kya philosophy tum padh rahe ho yaar? And that day I picked up the camera. I was still doing my job, right? My job's still going on. I started doing photography. But I became the passion of photography. I became photography. Came to a point in 4 years' time, my photography excelled, came to a point that magazines started taking me in. I then realized, I see a lot of photographers, they do photography, but they can't write. And I was not going for the typical corporate executive holidays to a beach resort or to a hill resort. I would pick up the remotest of the places where God-forsaken place no one would go, right? And I would look for stories there. in the pictures, and I started writing pictures with stories. It started getting published.
So that's where
This is, no, this is before, that's what I'm coming to. So I'm coming to the preparation, unconscious preparation. And then came a time when this transition is happening. I did not choose this life. If you think you are going to choose something, forget your ego. Some bigger power decides for you what you have to be doing. But you have to first prove yourself, right? And that's where the transition comes in. 2013, for some reason, my gates on the corporate world shut down. Not that I was not competent. It just shut down. It was meant to be. I didn't understand. It's like you're running on a treadmill. The treadmill stops, you go flying, right? Phone stopped ringing. I had power. No one would call me. You went disoriented. But I didn't realize what was happening. And the only thought came to my mind, because I was reading history. My parents came from Pakistan and they lost everything in Kashmir and they came to UP, and there are a lot of questions I had in my mind. And I said, my father fondly talked about Muzaffarabad and Kashmir and he could never go. And I could see the moistness in his eyes. I said, I must go there. But now, see, I was doing all those explorations in Tibet and here and there, God-forsaken places I used to go. I never went to a resort, right? I was pushing the envelope. I was the passion. And then came a time that I should go to Pakistan. How will I get the visa? I'm India born. Something happened. I'll not get into that story, but I entered the country. And what came out was the first book out there, Lost Heritage, The Sikh Legacy in Pakistan. I went to 36 cities and villages in 30 days. And then I realized the photography that I was learning, actually, it was one click. This is all visual ethnography. I would click it, it would better be right because I'm not going to go there again. Right? The stories that I was writing for magazines, I never went in to write a book. I just went in with an impression to experience. The stories would stay here because your skills had developed. I was not a journalist. And then came about this book. Something happened, then came about the second book. 5 years of my life gone into this. I never went back to the corporate world. And then, before this phase comes in, something me and my wife did is in 2018, we embarked on another big journey. That's when in 2018, I realized
so the personal quest turned into something
bigger purpose.
bigger.
And 2018 is when I realized that all that years I was preparing from the 17 years of age, and I was 53 at that time, that this was the purpose of my life. What me and my wife started is a journey across 9 nations to make a documentary series, a 24-episode documentary series on Guru Nanak and his journey across the various faith sites. Today, Guru Nanak is boxed into a faith. He was a free-spirited man.
deified.
Who was going into various spiritualist tradition sites to strike a dialogue. And we didn't know, we didn't have the money, we didn't have anything, we just went in. And the product that has got formed is on the website called thegurunanak.com, and it's available in 5 languages: Punjabi, English, Hindi, Urdu language, and Punjabi with Shahmukhi script. I'm not differentiating, but there are a lot of Punjabis on the other side of the border who have faith in Guru Nanak. They might be Muslims, right? But the Shahmukhi script, niche segments, but we created that. And that's where I realized that this was the purpose of my life, and just bringing it to an end. That project completed in October 2023. It's freely available. It's costed $3.2 million, by the way. Freely available. Question is, the ocean is there. Do you want to take a dip into it? Ocean is there. It's up to you. You want to take a dip? Take a dip. Don't want to take a dip? So be ignorant, right? But it's been done. And then came about this quest where we have started. See, when you become the passion, just to bring that whole thing together now, how the things are evolving. This project is oneness in diversity. We've just started this 6 months back. It's a big body of work, and we can discuss that later on, but it's a 5-year project again. So by now, we have proven ourselves and we've understood we only take encyclopedic books. 5 years of our life goes, one project. I'll be probably 62 by the time this project ends. What you're seeing today is a small part of it. It's the oneness in diversity, anekta mein ekta. Much bigger body of work. You're just seeing a small piece of work coming out. In the next 4 years, you'll see the entire thing coming out on the website called onenessindiversity.com. And so going back with the skill sets, become the passion, don't follow the passion. The next skill set I will be saying is that when you start developing things, look for the next purpose right behind you. Because 4-5 years, you become that passion, you don't need to look for something else. It'll be right behind you. Pick it up. Because that's how I've evolved, right? You see so many things I do it every 4-5 years. Next purpose will come up. Pick it up. When you pick it up, you excel in that. Test yourself always. Whether what I'm doing, does it have relevance Because sometimes you might be walking the wrong path with your passion, right? And you might have to recorrect it. But you don't have to hear always as a customer feedback. This is not business out here doing it, right? Your consciousness is the point of reflection which will tell you yourself, यार ठीक है ये रास्ता यार, मुझे नहीं करना, कुछ और की बात नहीं सुननी. You ask yourself, and over a period of time, it will tell you you're on the right path. And the last piece I'll say is, don't chase recognition. When you do the right work, recognition will follow you. Those are skill sets.
Yeah, coming back. Very
And when
important.
you're ready, the divine will choose you for it.
So Nanak has been a focus area for you. You've been revolving around him for some time. So I want you to talk about the Nanak Panthi communities that you found when you traveled, and very interesting people. And because Nanak has become inaccessible for most of us here, just deified but inaccessible. So can you tell us about people who are living with him?
Don't mind if someone's boundaries are hardened, but I talk my heart, okay? We have to talk our heart. Guru Nanak was a free-spirited man who traveled across 9 nations, more than 150 sites. He's written 960 odd verses, all about oneness, right? And when he was walking, who was walking beside him? Bhai Mardana, his Muslim friend, playing the rabab. Whom was he interacting with? People of all faiths, right? Of course, that vision had a major following that formed, right? A few fracture points have emerged. I call them as fracture points. One is when in our own Sikh history, of course, that thing led to the glorious chapter. An empire got formed. First time the empire pushed on the Western front, created its presence. We all know that history. I don't know. So these are glorious chapters. I'm proud of it. But at the same time, some 105 years back, we defined who we are. But when you define, you also define who the other is not. And the seeds of that have started flourishing. And then comes a time when 1947 happens. An entire civilization of societies flourish on the river banks. Kaveri, Narmada, Ganga, Jamuna, Tehzeeb, Indus. हमारे बुजुर्ग इंडस के दरिया के साथ थे. 5 दरिया और इंडस में जाकर मिलता है. They came from there. 47 disrupted them, threw them across. They got dispersed. Yeah? Another fracture point. And then, I will not shy from saying, 1970s and 80s, I've lived through that. The Punjab starts with its political crisis. These things have damaged a lot of things. Today, we have to talk this. Whatever it be, we are not political people, but it's impacted our psyches, mindsets, and the Nanak Panth. I have devoted 110 chapters inside this book to a community called the Nanak Panthis of Sindh. Because when I've gone inside Pakistan, Balochistan, Sindh, I, being a person in a turban and a beard, cannot actually question anyone else's feeling. I don't have the right to do that. And when I've gone inside depths of Sindh and Balochistan and deep inside West Punjab, the people who have stayed there, interestingly, they've retained it's like cocooned, right? Now you are in a danger because you're a minority, you've retained yourself. And that becomes a great experiment lab to go back and study what my forefathers were because they've retained that. We have evolved, we have transformed, we merged.
The Gurdwaras look different.
Of course, our Gurdwaras are all black and white and laden with gold, right? And you see these books, all the remnants, the entire culture got destroyed. The temples, Gurdwaras and other things, the Jain mandirs. And I'm just focusing on the Sikh legacy. But we look at that, the art, architecture, floral fresco works, very, very different, right? Our people left it and came. So that entire intangible aspect of the communities in Sindh and Balochistan and West Punjab who are saying Khyber Pakhtunkhwa area, I've stayed with them. And you realize that these people have Nanak yet as the integral part of their faith. Now, they could be having belief in Bhagavad Gita also. They could be having belief in Udero Lal Granth also. I will never question that. I'm no one entitled to question that. That's their cultural aspect. But when we start defining, then we say move away from Nanak Panth, which is a big brush, adherents of Nanak, to saying a particular definition of a particular society. And this is right, rest is wrong. That is wrong.
Defining also includes othering.
Exactly, othering. So this is, you see, I can't change that. This is an evolution of history, evolution of a lot of things that have happened. So we just have to understand it. Once you start understanding what are these works for, I mean, unity in diversity, oneness in diversity, so bring us back to the fulcrum of the message. That's what it is.
So documentary we just saw is about the interaction of Nanak with the Indic saints. Can you tell us what do you mean by Indic saints, Indic practices, Indic traditions? Because that's a very wide area. It's pretty broad. Can
Yeah.
you just talk about what you
No, the
mean by
definition is was set upfront. We are looking at the Bhakti and Sufi movement period. Starts about 1170 onwards and goes up till late 1700s, right? That's a glorious chapter of this. Indic word basically means Indian. It's a term which is भारतीय उपमहाद्वीप कह लो या पाकिस्तान में बड़े सगीर कह लो. It's all the same. Indic is a word, Indian civilization. That's what. The saints of the Indian subcontinent. But look at the maps. This is just a part of the documentary you're seeing, right? But if you look at the entire map of the 16 saints, they are from Maharashtra to Bengal to UP to Pakpatan, Pakistan. Everything is integrating. And the beauty is, when I look at this from a bird's eye view from top of the map, then I say, how forward was Punjab at that time that in period of that 600 years or 650 years of that Bhakti and Sufi movement, Guru Nanak is smack center of it in terms of timeline. And how forward-looking was he that he started collating the writings of Baba Farid when he goes twice to his shrine, right? And that he sets as a precedence to start documenting जो मुंह ज़बानी जो culture चलता था उस्ताद और शागिर्द का मुंह ज़बानी. आजकल तो म्यूजिक आप लिख के सीख लेते हो ना, पहले तो जूते भी खाने पड़ते थे, रोटी भी बनानी पड़ती थी, तब कुछ छोटा चीज मिलता, बट oral tradition था, उसको लिखना शुरू कर दिया.
As you say,
Yeah.
Kabir's biggest repository is in the Guru
Yeah, I'm
Granth
coming to
Sahib.
that. So that aspect, the documentation that started happening, Nanak's lineage, the latter Sikh gurus continued with that. The only, a beautiful example across the Indic traditions of this integration was in Punjab, when the Sikh gurus came up with the Guru Granth Sahib, the fifth guru. 15 saints plus Bhai Mardana also I include there is one verse of his. So I say 16. The general text say 15, I say 16, right? Their entire writings were brought together into the Granth Sahib. Now, that's an integration in terms of philosophical thoughts, right? How beautiful. Punjab was 500 years ahead of what anything did not happen in the Indian subcontinent. So the question that I ask is, what has happened to that land? Yes, it's got divided. It's got 10 other problems that have happened over the last few hundred centuries. But let's step back. So that's where. So last thing I'll say on this is, what people may not know, Bijak of Kabir, or Kabir Ganthavali, actually Bijak of Kabir, if you really study it, is only about 100 years old. 100 years back, the Kabir Panthis, Nanak Panthi, Kabir Panthi, Dadu Panthi, you see the word Panthi? They started collating the writings and it became Bijak, or became Kabir Ganthavali. But if anyone is trying to study Kabir, the only scripture which is the oldest one you have to go to is the Guru Granth Sahib. There are 550 plus verses of Kabir inside it. Without going to the Granth Sahib, you can't go anywhere else, because that's the oldest documented tradition. That's the beauty of Punjab at that time. So we need to reflect back what's happening. Why is this happening? How can we correct it? Because if we don't take the corrective action now, sorry, then the generations later on will not excuse you for this.
Music, it's a very integral part of what you do.
Yeah.
Can you talk about all the music you have done through the series and the documentaries and how integral it is?
Yeah. So, music evokes emotions. I'm not a preacher, by the way. I'm not a preacher. I'm not going to stand in any temple, gurdwara, girjaghar or masjid and start telling you what you should do. Music should evoke the emotion inside you. Therefore, most of our entire Guru Nanak documentary series, if you go to thegurunanak.com and see, it's anchored in 270 verses. It's a large repository, it's an encyclopedic work. 270 verses. This documentary also is intertwined with messages, what that saint is saying, what the culture is saying. There are different things outside of the Granth Sahib, but the saints are saying which is in the Granth Sahib. And then Nanak is kind of summarizing it with his thought, complementing it. So music is integral. I'll tell you what we did in the Guru Granth, in the Guru Nanak documentary series, the work before this. Bhakti and Sufi movement is all about music, right? Bhakti. Without music, तो अब वो आप Vedantic thought, I'm not showing anything different. Vedantic thought is oneness, right? अब Vedantic thought में चले जाओगे, there's no music. It's only philosophy. But when that philosophy comes into music, it becomes bhakti, right? Oneness. So, when we did the Guru Nanak docu-series, we said there's a journey me and my wife are going to go to more than 150 multi-faith sites across 9 countries. We have the old hagiographies. Hagiographies are texts, the Janam Sakhis, which are written by people of faith, and they will have biases. So we've taken that text, but we know what did Guru Nanak have as a dialogue in Baghdad with Pir Abdul Qadir Gilani? What did Guru Nanak have the dialogue at Puri, at Jagannath temple? Or what did he have as a dialogue at the Kailash? We know that, it's documented. So we took that aside. And in the documentary series, we are not going to show Guru Nanak because we can't show him. We can't animate. It's not an animation. We're going and discovering his strands out there. It's a documentary, right? How do you represent that Guru Nanak's dialogue? I'm not going to give you the preaching mode, right? So we take those verses, and they're all written in the rags. They're all written in rags. So we said we'll maintain the sanctity of the rag. Plus, the music that you hear, let's say in our own tradition in the Gurdwaras, has evolved. People sing in filmy tunes, people sing in this, that, people sing on harmonium. Harmonium is not your Indic instrument. The British gave it to you. But it's replaced the entire landscape of our music, right? So we said, no, Guru Nanak and Mardana did not travel with a harmonium. In fact, they did not travel with a percussion instrument. Because who was the third person playing the percussion? No one. So then we said, we take that string instrument, rabab, and Guru Nanak's voice is going to be sung, represented by a particular male singer, and he will sing whenever, it'll be sung in the rag, and it'll be in that particular company of the rabab. So that male voice represents Guru Nanak's dialogue at that particular site. So at Jagannath temple, if he's having a dialogue, Kaisi Aarti Hove, sung in rag Dhanasari, it's a dialogue with the Pandit out there. That's what we maintain. Now, at the same time in the docu-series, I am traveling 550 years after his life on his footpath, trying to understand him. I'm trying to understand him. Actually, I'm not trying to understand him, I'm trying to understand myself only, basically, through his verses, right? So my mind goes through a lot of evolutions and a lot of questions, a lot of sadness, a lot of joy. And those expressions, I will let the music express. And that is going to be sung in the female voice, because my soul is feminine, right? It's a Sufi thought, it's that, my soul is feminine. In the Gurbani, it comes in, right? Otherwise, Guru Nanak is not differentiating. He says, Ape Purak, Ape Nari. You have both the energies inside you. But my soul will be represented feminine. So we took a female singer. Interestingly, we have given so much of thought into this making of the music.
Just shows also.
Yeah. We could have got many female musicians in India. We could have got. We were recording this in the COVID time. We were sitting in Singapore and doing it remotely. We could have got many musicians. But we didn't want classical predominance. We wanted Shabad to be the on the top, music to be behind it. And then we looked around and we saw if in my own community I couldn't get any female singer to say, I'm going to pull the harmonium away from you, sing in this rag maj, fall flat, the sur go left, right. That's why my musical training comes into help. I can't sing, but I can understand, right? And my wife has played a big role in this. So we looked around. We found a female singer in Pakistan. Now, why did we take a Pakistani singer? Because she went, Salima Khwaja, she went and learned from the lineage of Bhai Mardana, who walked with Guru Nanak. Doesn't have the DNA inside her, but she spent time with Ghulam Muhammad Chand. She's a lawyer by profession. And she got so motivated by Guru Nanak's verses and by Ghulam Muhammad Chand. Partition divide the whole thing. All the musicians from Punjab went on the Pakistan side. All the patrons, the Hindus and Sikhs came on this side. No one left to hear to them. The entire tradition went down, right? But she kind of got motivated. She went and invested time. Me and my wife said, here's a lady who is learning from someone. It is our responsibility. We are doing Guru Nanak docu-series to lift her, to bring her to the light of the people, right? And that's what we did. And she sung about 130 verses of Guru Nanak, right? And that's how the Guru Nanak docu-series. So we pay a lot of importance to music, because music has to evoke the sense inside you.
Okay, I'm going to open the session to questions and not to comments. So please try to keep it direct and questions. Yeah.
So we do want to end this by, I want to take this opportunity to show the trailer of Guru Nanak docu-series.
After the question answer session, his next documentary would be
Not it's already there, but I want to show you the trailer, so I'll motivate you to go and see it for yourself. समुंदर तो पड़ा हुआ है, उसमें गोते खाने के लिए आपको बोल रहा हूँ कि कपड़े कुपड़े निकालो, जाके गोता खा के आओ, right?
Paji, congratulations. It's a wonderful, it's like a poetry we've been flowing through. Very good part of your film. I'm a small filmmaker from Nagpur itself.
हाँ जी.
And my weakness of my films are the sound. Voice जो है, sound जो है, audio. Basically, visually I'm okay with. आपने इतना सारा outdoor shoot किया है. There are so many temples यहाँ बहुत बहुत सारे लोग outdoor में बातें कर रहे हैं. तो इतनी अच्छी clarity, how did you manage to get? This is my first question. And second is, आप ये film कहाँ release करेंगे? That's the second.
आपका नाम क्या है?
मेरा नाम आसिफ है.
आसिफ भाई, ऐसा है
जी.
मैं कोई फिल्म मेकर नहीं हूँ.
ये सब
मैं कोई फिल्म मेकर नहीं हूँ.
नहीं, because ये film देखने का मुझे realize हुआ कि मुझे अभी कितनी दूर आगे बढ़ना है.
मैं आ रहा हूँ. मैं कोई ऑथर नहीं हूँ. 2 किताबें लिख दी है ना, तभी तो 5 साल से फिल्म बनाने बैठे हैं, राइट? वही बात पे आप जाइए ना कि if you do the things right, the skills are there, your ability to comprehend, your ability to understand, your power to see through the things, then you are not making an effort to do anything. Then divine is giving it to you. यार हम लोग फिल्म बनाने गए, ये तो अभी आप बहुत सिंपल सी फिल्म देख रहे हैं. अगर आप गुरु नानक डॉक्यू सीरीज देखेंगे, we've gone, me and my wife have gone deep inside Afghanistan, deep inside Pakistan with drones and cameras in India where I don't have a live threat. If I want to fly, you're a filmmaker, a drone over Jagannath temple, you know what problems will happen, right? I, as a person who's devoted 10 years of my life, if I go to Golden Temple, Darbar Sahib and say I want to actually film, they will not allow me to do it. I've proven myself, they'll not allow me to still do it, right? You understand, as a filmmaker? So, मैं कौन होता हूँ करने वाला? इतनी ऊपर से देन आ रही है. वो हम लोग स्टेल्थ मिशन में थे. जान की प्रॉब्लम थी, पैसे नहीं होते थे, पैराशूट खुलता था, नहीं होता था, कभी लगता था बगदाद में पैसे खत्म हो गए. We got into a flight, I went to US, I started pleading, raised some money, came back, I kept my team there. And what I'm trying to say, I don't know, seriously. We were just on a stealth mission. अब पता तो है, कैमरा चलाना, photography पता, मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ ना. I can tell my person, Salman Alam Khan from Pakistan went into all the Islamic countries with us. He's our son. We've adopted him, right? He's our son. We had an Indian guy, Deepak Verma, who went in India and Bangladesh. They were the experts. But I have the vision. I'm telling you, ऐसे चलाओ इसको, ऐसे करो. वो अपना भी कर रहे हैं. You have to give them the flexibility. But it's a team coming together to churn things without us as the directors overbearing on them, letting them do the work because the divine energy that's getting it done. So sorry, I don't want to get into technicalities. Understand the essence behind it. So if you become the Junoon will take care of you. Hanji.
I request the the visitors to please introduce yourself before the question. Thank you.
मैं जगतार सिंह नागपुर से. छोटा सा सवाल है. सोमनाथ मंदिर के बाहर जब आरती के बारे में आपने जिक्र किया, उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा और हमें क्लैरिफाई करेंगे. दैट इज नंबर 1.
सॉरी, क्वेश्चन इज उसके बारे में.
आपने अभी सोमनाथ मंदिर के आगे आरती गुरु नानक साहब की,
जगन्नाथ, सोमनाथ नहीं,
जगन्नाथ मंदिर के आगे, आई एम सॉरी, आई स्टैंड करेक्टेड,
Yeah.
जगन्नाथ मंदिर के आगे जो आपने आरती का भी जिक्र किया, उसके बारे में थोड़ा और डिटेल बताएंगे. दैट इज़ नंबर 1, फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. सेकंड इज कि जब गुरु नानक साहब मक्का मदीना गए थे, उस टाइम कहा जाता है कि वहाँ पे उनके खड़ाऊ हैं. इसके बारे में कोई हिस्टोरिकल एविडेंस है कि? दैट इज़ माय सेकंड क्वेश्चन.
See, if you want me to tell you about the verse at Jagannath Mandir, कैसी आरती होए, भवगन्ना तेरी आरती, अनता सबद वाजत, I can go on telling you, but I'm not a preacher. I'll not do that. I will tell you, go and see episode 12. You asked the question, I'm telling you, go to thegurunanak.com. 5 languages में है, whichever language you want to go, open episode 12, see the entire thing out there, right? So you do your work. I'm not going to get into that thing of explanation because I'm not a preacher, right? As far as you said, खड़ाव पड़ी हैं. You know what? When we love someone, and Guru Nanak wrote nothing about his life. Get that right. He wrote nothing, no autobiography. We are trying to make a documentary on his life. He's given you only spiritual verses. He's only given you the anchor is understand my philosophy. That's all he's given you. Written nothing about his life. So who's written about his life? His people who loved him. have written. Those are known as hagiographies. जो हम कह रहे हैं जन्म साखी, जटाका बोलते हैं Buddhist tradition में. No one's written about Buddha. Buddha didn't write about himself. His people wrote about himself. Ram did not write about himself. People wrote about him. These are known as hagiographies in English. When people write about their revered leader, then it is bound to be biased. Get that right. I'm not going to speak bad about Guru Nanak. I love him. But then that not speaking anything, I will lose my critical ability. I will be always biased. So all people who write the hagiographies will be biased. Then comes a big disease in the society, that mine is better than yours. How can yours be better than mine? So you will glorify it. That leads to myths, mythologies, magic. आंख बंद की तो यहाँ से तिब्बत पहुँच गए. ये किया तो वो हो गया, वो किया तो वो हो गया. And all our Janam Sakhi literature, without putting our intelligence inside it, this documentary series is called Allegory, a tapestry of Guru Nanak's travel. If anyone knows the meaning of allegory, it's understanding a big metaphor that exists inside a narrative. हिंदी में रूपक, गुरु नानक के कदमों की रूहानी छाप. पंजाबी में सैनत, सैनत होता है एक इशारा देना, एक metaphoric element. Rupak is a metaphoric element. That's what we're trying to understand. So all the verses of Guru Nanak are just the shabads. Through that, we have to use it and apply it to the situations that the people of faith have written, which have to be biased and corrupted. So you are going to apply your own intelligence through his verses, what have happened, and try and understand Guru Nanak. Then you understand myths and mythologies become secondary, because his word is there, right? Myths and mythologies become secondary. You start seeing it rationally. Coming to Khadao, I'll simply say, does it have any relevance? Does a rock where he bends it, there's a rock where he goes like this, which is only opened in 1970, I'm not going to name the places, 1971, the army opens it. And you go and put a back around it. We go and rever it. Then we laugh that people are worshipping idols. Then what are you doing? The same thing. So what are you trying to prove? Does that have any relevance? Ek chola hai, does it have any reference? Does it this thing? All I'm trying to say is, we can, so I know you're getting a bit fidgety to answer the next question, but just trying to understand the essence of it, what I'm trying to say. What matters is the word. Understand his philosophy. There's a 24-episode docu-series there. We've handled with a lot of balance. We've used a lot of time and effort to put every situation of these myths, mythologies that have appeared have been put together. By the way, there is no Khadao in Makkah, Medina. That's all I'm trying to come through that long way. But I'm trying to say you'll come across many other things. There's nothing there. That's all. But yes, people will say it is there. People come with 10 other things. I can't get into any dialogues with anyone, because it's your faith versus what I'm telling you I've been there.
That's it, I guess. No more questions. So I'll ask the last question.
Yeah.
So going forward, what's next for Amardeep? So we see this, and can you talk about your next future projects?
So can you just get ready? I would like to show the trailer in 4-minute trailer in Hindi. I don't want to show the English one. So it's in 5 languages. The website name is thegurunanak.com. Guru Nanak, there's only one Guru Nanak. The Guru Nanak, right? So what's the next project? I've already said oneness and diversity we are getting into. We are building educational content. We are, first and foremost, we are building these documentaries which are about, we are taking 24 episodes. एक समुंदर है और एक तालाब के अंदर में आप जाके डुबकी मार लोगे, समुंदर को देख के डर लगता है पहले तो, right? 24 episode देख के डर लगता है, right? So you have to see it one episode at a time. So, but we feel there's a segment that just needs a 50-minute representation of Guru Nanak in a rational way. And we as a community have failed. We've not presented him in 50 minutes. Other than myths and mythology, YouTube is filled with narratives. And I sometimes look at them and I feel like puking, because what are we presenting for the next generation? We have to take charge. And so we are coming out in 4 languages, just presenting him in 50 minutes flat. For the global audience, for our audience, for us, for anyone who wants to see him and understand something from him. That's one. Then we are presenting every Indic saint, 16 of them. This is a long documentary. But Kabir in 20 minutes. Ramanand in 15 minutes, like that, small pieces. And this whole thing will start coming up on a website called onenessanddiversity.com. By this year, August, so the website will start getting populated. Our go-to point is that 550 verses of Kabir, 950 of Nanak. No one till date has ever recorded them in the rags they've been written in a musical form, in an audio-visual format. No one has done it. There are shabads there, 1, 2, 3 here and there. But my vision is, hey, a family of 4 can sit at their home and say, let's understand Kabir. Let's sit down. 4 shabads this week is my target. It's right at your home. You don't need to go to any temple, gurdwara, anywhere. Sit at your home, say, I'm going to learn with my kitchen in 4 languages, Punjabi, Hindi, English, Urdu. Right? So we have to first record everything. That the whole project has got about 1,700 verses to be recorded. Then translations in English, Punjabi, Hindi, Urdu. Our biggest problem that we're trying to correct in the translation is a translation. I'm not an expert. My translation, someone else is free to challenge it in my lifetime or after my lifetime. Because I'm challenging someone else's translation also. Because all the translations that have been done in English language, for instance, they're all he-oriented. 50% of your population, when Nanak is saying, Ape Purak, Ape Nari, you are both female and male, you've disintermediated 50% of your population by making it a he-oriented translation. Next generation is not going to accept it, get it right. Next generation needs a gender neutrality. You are no more superior than the female. So correct that. Either we do it now, or we face the consequences 100 years from now, because next generation will not care about it. So we start doing that. But why? But I can do it in a book form. But who's reading the books? Who's reading those translations? So we can have to bring it in audio-visual format, so it becomes easier for you. So that's what we're trying to do. The other big problem in the translation is God, the factor God, which in our Bhakti movement, Sufi movement, actually is the divinity within this every element of creation. That's the divine energy. We have made it into an Abrahamic faith of actually distinct and divine, the God being distinct and away from us. And there's a son of God, and then there's creation. Creation cannot be the God, God cannot be the creation. You have to change that. Because my biggest problem is, ek onkar, on a car's wheel written right, God is one. Hey, get it right. Onkar is creation, sustenance, destruction. Onkar, that energy is running creation, sustenance and destruction. Nanak is just putting one, not by saying that God is one, but that everything is intertwined into oneness. You see how it differs? That dog becomes me. That plant becomes me. You want to cut the trees? Realize you're also cutting yourself over a period of time. So that oneness. So all these concepts have to be changed. Now it's a big project. It's just 2 of us doing it. We struggle for fundings, but Divine is doing it. So that's how we hope we'll finish it off. Because we get no support from otherwise institutions.
गुरु नानक अखंडता के प्रतीक हैं, जो बहुत लोगों के मार्गदर्शक हैं। 15वीं सदी में पैदा हुए गुरु नानक ने 2 दशकों से भी ज्यादा समय तक दूरवर्ती जगहों का स्वार्थ रहित भ्रमण किया। उन्होंने विभिन्न संस्कृतियों और धार्मिक मान्यताओं के लोगों को एक साथ लाने के लिए दार्शनिक और सामाजिक गोष्ठी आयोजित की। उन्होंने शब्दों और संगीत के माध्यम से अपना अनुभवजन्य ज्ञान साझा किया। वहदत की पैरवी में उन्होंने निडर होकर सामाजिक विभाजन को चुनौती दी तथा लिंग, धार्मिक, नस्लीय और वर्ग असमानता का तहे दिल से विरोध किया। 21वीं सदी की भौगोलिक राजनीति और सांस्कृतिक फरमान गुरु नानक के नक्शे कदम पर यात्रा करने पर अत्यधिक प्रतिबंध लगाते हैं।
मेरा नाम अमरदीप सिंह है। मैं सिलसिलेवार गुरु नानक के जीवन वृतांत को प्राचीन ऐतिहासिक लिखतों के अनुसार तलाश करूंगा।
हम 5 नदियों की धरती पंजाब से गुजरे, सुंदर वन की खाड़ी का सफर तय किया, सागर पार संगला द्वीप गए, हिमालय के पहाड़ों पर चढ़कर दुनिया की छत मेरू पर्वत पर पहुंचे, रेत के टीलों से गुजरते हुए हिजाज के रेगिस्तान पार किए। गुरु नानक ने किसी को अजनबी नहीं माना, उनके मार्गदर्शन पर हमारी टोली के दिलों में बंदिशें नहीं रही और हम यात्राओं की सीमाएं पार करते रहे।
गुरु नानक देव जी ने हमको परम पिता परमात्मा का नाम बताया। उनका नाम एक ओम, सारा संसार असत्य है, परमात्मा सिर्फ एक सत्य।
He had his own message of oneness of humanity, and that cut across all regions, all caste barriers, all religions.
دا بابناکو چې په کوبال په پېښور ګرځېدو دا یرمندو کې لاړ څوک په یوازې دي څوک وګا
कोई सी बात तो बोले कि आपने और मेरे में क्या अंतर है?
530 years ago coming, on uncharted lands. He didn't know the language, but is still making such a big impact, an impact which not only had permanence, which was carried on.
ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਨਸਾਨੀਅਤ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਮਜ਼ਹਬ ਹੈ। ਇਨਸਾਨੀਅਤ ਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਪਿਆਰ, ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਉਹੀ ਕੀਤਾ, ਬਾਬਾ ਗੁਰੂ नानक ने भी वही किया।
गुरु नानक की रूहानी यात्राओं से संबंधित कथाएं दार्शनिक विस्तारों से भरी हुई हैं, जो मन की कीमिया साजी में मदद करती हैं। ये रूपक का राज खोलने का कार्य है। उनकी यात्राओं से जुड़ी कथाएं जीवन के कोहरे में पथ प्रदर्शन की सुविधा प्रदान करती हैं। रूपक गुरु नानक के कदमों की रूहानी छाप यह 24 कड़ियों का दस्तावेजी धारावाहिक है। आइए मेरे साथ एकता की प्रतिमा गुरु नानक को समझने का विनम्र प्रयास करें।
Thank you.
Retailer where it is. It'll take you to the retailer where these books are available. But again, if you are interested, I don't think we've already gone to 7 reprints. My attention is not into this. I don't think we'll see the 8th reprint coming in. So you can take a print of that. I mean, you can take a photo of it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being a great audience. Just a second, I need to ask our chair, Mr. Dilip Kamdar, to please present this frame. It's been specially made for VLF by Mandira. It's featuring one of the historical monuments of Nagpur. Dilip bhai, ये आप रिपु दमन को देंगे as a token of appreciation. Thank you so much.